Hi everyone. I'm going to do a journey today on Mother Earth and see what comes up. See what the energies look like at this time. I had a few questions about, are shadow spirits good, shadow spirits bad? Are there even good ones or not good ones? That's a complex question I think I'll answer in another video. But the simple question is, if you're wide awake, you sense it. You know the energy is good or bad. And if you're in the spirit realm, it's very easy to identify what's good and bad by the energy they give off. It's the energy they give off and the feelings that you get from that energy. Your senses, how you identify. Like I always say, your true name is the energy signature that you give off. It tells you everything about you. So that's how you can identify spirits. If you identify them by a name, you'll know them by that name. And so names are simply not, because you could have 1,000 names, 1,000,000 names. Like names are simply just what are given to somebody in the physical world. But the energy side of things, there's so many names. So when you ask what the spirit name is, it's like asking somebody that's been named like thousands and thousands of names, which one do you say? Which one do you pick? It's simply the energy you give off is your name. That's your true name. And that in itself is pretty extremely complex. It's not just a name. It's like everything that and who and what you are is shown to you with the energy you give off. The energy signature is a good way of saying it. The frequency that you're vibrating at as well. It's a complex question. I think I'll leave to another time. I have done videos based on shadows and dark energies. I did a series on it, From Light to Dark. It's an older one I did a long time ago. It shows you how to walk through that. I've been through a lot of energies like that. And there was another question that brought up, how does that energy make you feel? How do you handle that energy? It's a good question, because when I did a video on Lucifer and Satan, when I was standing in front of the dust, the chaos energy, my energy was being torn apart constantly in waves. So a wave would hit you and it would feel like your energy is trying to be ripped apart in every direction. And the energy, everything was screaming ridiculously loud. So you only can connect onto the energy partially. You could completely connect onto stuff like that, but why would you? So you start to identify, how does it make you feel? It depends on how much you connect onto the energy and what is the energy given off. So over the years, I've been able to know when to shut off the echoes of the energies that you're connecting to. And some of the most difficult energies I ever been into was when I went into Auschwitz and also healing Lucifer's dark parts of his soul. The echoes can get so loud that it takes hours to heal from them if you allow them to get that loud. And that's the thing you got to understand, is that when, just to give you an example, when I was doing an Auschwitz video, the whole sky was full of stuff, and I was looking into that, and the echoes were becoming so loud and so real. It gets to the point where you now are one of the people and going through the torture. When is it time to stop that? Are you going to just continue to allow it become more real, be more and more louder? What purpose is that going to say? What purpose is that going to do to you? What is it going to solve? Is it going to change anything? Well, I think it's important to understand the energy to a certain point. And at that point, it's what you're willing to allow yourself to experience as well is what is it you need to do in order to do the healing. Sometimes you have to physically go through the whole process. You start to feel everything and see everything, and you become become an individual in that space. So is that healthy for you? Up to a certain point, it is, I might think, because it really shows you and you feel what, in some small perspective of what was going on there and what people were going through. You feel the energies. I'm not saying it's completely different being there. Of course it is. But I've experienced things that were so real at times that it's almost like you've actually lived through it. It teaches you a lot about human beings, about yourself, about your limitations, about the cruelness of society as well. It's so vast because, for instance, I've done journeys where I felt the bones break of individuals. I felt the fear. I felt the anxiety. I felt the pain, but not probably anywhere near what it was like to be there. But you feel the fear of the people. Like there was one part where there's a person that was lying down at the table that the mouth was sewing shut, and they're pulling the organs out of the body while he was still alive. Is that really serving any purpose? I was in the gas chambers just before people died, and the fear in some, and I was popping into different ones, and some were actually absolutely terrified, and other ones were in acceptance, and everywhere in between. And the things just kept getting louder and louder and louder. And when you're done of the journey, you have to disconnect, because I think one of the worst ones is when I first did a journey into Lucifer's dark side. The echoes were so loud afterwards. The pain and the suffering that he was experiencing were so loud every time an echo came back, even when the journey was done. Every time the echo came back, it was more intense than the last time. So when I say to people that are doing this type of work, it's very important that you're aware that not everybody sees, though, the way I do. I see things like a movie. I feel things like a human being. So when I go into that state, I feel more in the journey than I do in the physical, as it comes right down to it. Maybe not when it comes to actually getting bones broken and stuff like that, but the idea about energies, you feel energies a lot more, a lot easier in the spiritual state. Like I could go on and on and on about subjects, and it's easy to lose track about stuff, but I think it's important what people understand what you experience. So when you heal something very, 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 very difficult, that's why sometimes when you do this type of work, I'm not simply just observing. I'm healing the energy. I'm moving the energy. I'm transforming it. It can be very, very, I feel all that. So what do? Like when you're done with it all, you disconnect from it because you have to. But it's not something you can just do over and over and over again. It's not like you can just do 20 of them in a day, 8 in a day, 10 in a day. I like when you do long sessions, usually if they're really difficult, they're mentally and physically, especially in your mind, it's draining. It doesn't mean the energy is draining, because the energy can be beautiful, it can be intense, but it does do a toll on your mind, though. It is very draining on your physical mind. It's like studying for exam for hours, and finally when you do the exam, it's very intense exam. It's like so friggin' good when it's done. But I guess that's not a very good example. But it's very, when you're using your mind a lot, it can be very, very draining on you. But it's different than that, because you're not just using your mind. You're using aspects of yourself that most people don't understand. And I'm getting off topic, but what I'm trying to explain is, when an individual doesn't necessarily have to experience everything in the same way. So everybody gets hung up on the little things, like, well, not necessarily little. Some people want to see everything clearly. And when they start doing journeys they can't see, it doesn't mean you have to see. I know people that have been doing journeys their whole life and don't see the way I do. But they're extremely good at other things. And that navigates the process. There's so many interesting ways of doing this work. And everybody has a different way of doing it to a smaller extent. It can be similar, but it is different. And it's important to understand the differences within yourself and understand what exactly is going on to help you identify that, so you can expand from that. Because you might not be able to see right now, but the more you do it, the more you'll expand, the more things will change, the more you'll learn, the more you'll grow, and all of a sudden you start seeing. You may never see. You may never want to. Because I'm telling you, when you walk into some of these spaces, are you able to handle seeing? I don't even know what I could really state, because I've seen some pretty horrible things. Are you able to walk in a room that's full of blood and guts and body parts and walk through that and sludge through it, walk above it? It's everywhere. People's bodies are attached to the walls in many disgusting ways, and they're screaming as their heads are coming out of the sides of the walls, and people are trying to grab your legs, and it's like, are you able to handle that? Do you want to see that? And that's the type of work I do. I do soul retrievals, which is one of the main things I do, is to go into these spaces. Not everybody wants to do that, which is great, because I don't think everybody should be wanting to do that. And it doesn't mean I want to, in a sense, is that I know I can. And so I do it, because not too many people are able to. Or want to. And I guess there is a part of my soul that will do it, because I have the ability to be able to do that in a way that doesn't affect me and how it affects other people. And partially that could have a lot to do with the darker energies that were around me that taught me to overcome all aspects of fear. And seeing things and dealing with these energies for so long, it taught me a lot of things. The most important thing, though, is that you have to have the Holy Spirit love, which to me is like an active version of love. Within you have to be a complete light all the time. And I can walk into a space and nothing attaches itself, nothing touches me, because I believe that. So going into these spaces, you have to be prepared to be able to overcome that. That takes time. It takes practice. It also takes the guidance of your spirit guides to do it correctly. Like, they taught me many, many, many things. And most important is not to allow energies to affect you in that state, because unless you want them to. When you start being able to walk into things and somebody walks up to you in the journey state and punches you in the face, you could either let it hit you, or you can allow the person to fall through you and you just walk through them. Stuff like that is things that you will learn as you go along, when to be able to do things and how to do them. And everybody does it differently, and everybody has a unique way of doing it. I've been talking for 15 minutes and haven't even done the journey yet. This is what happens when you start talking about subjects. It's easy to get lost in it. It's easy to get lost on the subject because it's so vast. Like I say, I'm saying things, but I'm not even going anywhere near what I know and what I've experienced, because it is so much more. Because when you do a journey, you should try to bring in every aspect, every part, every sense of who you are. The more senses you can bring in, the better. So if you can bring in touch, you can bring in sight, you can bring in feelings, you can bring in smell, taste even. It starts to enhance the experience more and more and more and more and more. And it can be any range of being blurry to dark to extremely vivid and to be real. It's like walking into a real space. It depends on what's how much of a trance you're in as well. So you see there's just a lot of things to talk about. When you teach people things, one of the most important things that I find out is you have to practice. Practice, 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 practice. If you don't practice, there's no point trying to learn it, because you're not going to be successful. If you only think that you can do a journey once, every 6 months or every month, and for about an hour long, and you expect to know everything, it's not going to work. What I would recommend, if you start doing journeys, to do a journey every day. Even if it's 5 minutes, it's still good to go into that state, because it teaches you how to be able to bring more senses in. And if you start doing journeys in actively 2 or 3 hours a day, your senses will become so empowered, in a sense, that you'll start see things more, or feel things much more and more and more and more. I find the two most important things to me is seeing and feeling. But the most important is feeling. That is the most important thing. Because if you cannot feel, you can't identify the truth. You can see something. It might look like that, but it's something completely different. When somebody comes to you, they could look like an old woman and they're a young man. Something could show itself to be your mother, and it could be a demon or a dark energy, which they love to do that, by the way. But the feelings are the things that tell you everything about the object, about the person. Sight just gives you the ability to see the energy. Which again, I say, sometimes you might not want to see everything. You see some pretty damn disturbing things. So be careful what you wish for. Human beings have a very, 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 very messed up way about them for thousands and thousands of years. So when you start going into the dark side of that, it gets pretty interesting. Anyway, I think I'm done talking about this. I'll just go right into the journey state, and I'm just going to... I'll talk to Mother Earth to see what she has to say. The world is full of negative energy. I think everybody realizes that. Full of fear. It's like when I look at the energy of the world, it's like literally, it's really hard for me to look at this because I've never seen it this bad before. It's like little. I don't know if you ever seen Supernatural, where the demons get taken out of the people's bodies and they turn into like a dark, long, elongated cloud of mist. This is what these is very, very similar. I see this all around the world, thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon thousands of these dark energies that are flying around, going into the earth, into people. By the way, some don't come out, some come in, some go right through them. Some people walk with glowing light around them, believe it or not, and they don't completely go anywhere near them. And this is one of the things that it's so important to have. This is for certain individuals. The Holy Spirit is an example, but it's like active love. It's allowing your love to be expanded around yourself and expanded outwards, so nothing can touch you. It's like visualizing your heart energy to create an orb around yourself and expand it out. Don't have it so close to you. You need to expand that energy out so it's around you by 20 feet or 10 feet or 6 feet, but no closer than 6 feet. That's what you should look like. In the energy, you should have a glowing light around yourself all the time. And these energies don't go anywhere near you, by the way. And I've seen this especially since coronavirus happened. This dark energy was prevalent. It became active all over the world. And it goes into people in different parts, and some people become paralyzed. I'm literally walking down the street, and I'm seeing people, like their souls, frozen in fear. Like they're completely frozen in fear. Their souls, there's a part of their body, the part of the energy is completely, utterly terrified. This is what Mother Earth is showing me right now. There's so much fear. This is a dangerous amount of fear. And it paralyzes people. And it's all over the world. It's not just simply here in North America. It's all over the world. This has never happened to this extent in a very, very long time. And this is extremely dangerous. Mother Earth is saying that this amount of negative energy is dangerous. It's at dangerous levels. We need to stop being afraid. Yes, there is the virus, but you can't be terrified. You can't let it overcome you. You can't let yourself become the frozen person, the frozen soul that's terrified. And it doesn't mean your whole body is terrified. It just means a part of your soul is absolutely terrified. You can't allow that energy in. You must allow yourself to glow really, really bright. She says it's extremely important that everybody puts a bright light around themselves and shine it really, really, really bright. And make sure you do this every single day. Because these things will start to, if your light starts to fade, is when they start hitting you repeatedly, over and over and over again, to the point where it shows me that these energies hit you. But if you're really bright, they won't come near you. But when the light starts to falter is when they start attacking you. And it starts breaking down. And then when there's ability for any holes, they start going into the holes. And they're showing me that they're sticking needles into your heart and into your mind. And it starts to dull in the light. And then when the light dullens, they attack you. And then when your light stops, like it becomes really, 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 really faint, is when they start entering you. And when it finally fails, is when you become like a soul that's frozen on the ground. This is what it looks like energetically. When I walk down, say I walk down New York City, walk into any major city, any towns, the souls are all over the place. You walk into buildings, they're laying on, they're just everywhere, frozen. It's becoming extremely dangerous levels of negativity in the world. It's start throwing things off of balance. So allow the light to shine within yourself. Visualize your heart energy expanding around a 6 or 10 foot area around yourself. And it's like this. It's like I see that the world is black and white. It's like a grayish black. Sometimes dark black, not so white. And I just take the white out of it. It's like somebody took a colored screen and shaded it black and white. They say black and white, but it's gray and black. And when you're shining your light, everywhere you go is in full color. You're in full color. But everybody else is in like a black and white image, and some of them are really black. So the world's becoming a black and white photograph with certain people that are bright, that show color. So when you look at the world, energetically looking at the world right now, it is mostly black and white and very little color. The world's supposed to be beautiful color, beautiful blues, greens, browns even. It's interesting because there's certain parts of the world where the oceans, for instance, are mostly blue. The fish aren't in fear, or are they? She says, or are they? Because there's a part of them that knows something is wrong. The animals sense something wrong. So everything's off of balance. Even the waters, the oceans. Like all the living things are dying. We're killing off so many species of animals, so many species of fish, that it's becoming dangerous because it's creating negativity everywhere. And this virus it has just created a massive amount of energy, because the human beings have a very, very strong ability to give off negative energy or positive energy. So they could be an amazing ability to heal the earth, to work with Mother Earth instead of against her. But we haven't learned, well, some of us haven't learned the importance of, or even our own abilities of protectors of this earth. We were here to protect Mother Earth, to care for it, not to destroy it. So we're even going against our basic function of what we really were supposed to do. Like, we're always going to be able to grow and expand on this earth, but we should be doing it in a way that we're not destroying everything. There was always going to be a balance, but we're throwing everything off balance. And we know that population is going out of control, but there's still a way that we can live in harmony by simply adjusting minor things. To Mother Earth, it's minor. But to us, it's like a major friggin' thing to do. Like, how could we ever just stop using oil? It's going to take time. If you think you can just stop the taps of oil, we're so ingrained in our society. There is an unbelievable amount of things that are made with oil. So we need to slowly shut the valve off. We can shut the major usages of it pretty quickly. But we have to choose a global effort. A global effort of change. But there's so many people believe that working together as a globe is a way that we're going to enslave the human race, which is in a way wrong, but in a way is fear based on some form of reality, possibly. But if we don't, the only way to truly grow as a human race is to do it globally. Is important that we work together as a people. And I know this comes up over and over and over again in my journeys, because this is what spirits are telling me, that we need to work together, not Canada work within Canada, U.S. work within Canada, or United States, and South America with South America, Europe with Europe. We're supposed to work together with Asia, with Russia, with South America, with Africa, Australia. We're supposed to work together as a global community. And it's not simply one or two people in power. It is everybody work together. And for some reason, every time this is suggested, it's like all of a sudden everything goes crazy. Because the energies in the world don't want the world global to work together. And it's going to take people with integrity, with respect, with love in their hearts to be able to do this. Because if you don't, you're right, we're going to get enslaved by a bunch of corrupt assholes, which we already are. But working together as a human race, as a global community, will skyrocket us so fast into the future that we would be able to turn the taps off oil fairly quickly. And I know there's a lot of people in the oil industry, a lot of jobs, a lot of people are paranoid about this. But it's the problem we're running into is the way we do a money system is also greatly is wrong. It doesn't work properly. And there's too much of a stretch between the rich and poor. And the middle class get decimated with taxes. It's insane. But there is a way of doing this. You just have to have bright minds from all over the world. And we can learn from every single country. A representative of every country should come together to try to make global change. Now, how is that even going to happen? We can't say that Russia can't be there. We can't say China can't be. We can't say, say Brazil, Peruvian, Colombian, Mexican, even Taiwan, like Indonesia, Australia, like India, all over the world. There has to be representatives from every country come together to try to really make change. And every person has a say and a voice. Why isn't this possible? She asks everybody that. Why is it impossible for this to happen? What would it take for this to happen, for people to come together as a global community? With real representatives, not people that are bought out from one person or big industries or whatever. Real people with integrity. What would it take? A meteorite hitting the earth, destroying part of it. Global chaos. Destruction of world powers. Apocalyptic event, in other words. Why? Why does that have to be the solution? It's because every individual country has leaders that don't represent the people. They represent themselves, their own interests. You got parties in a country that represent their own interests. So why is it that Conservatives, Liberals, NDP, the Green Party don't get along in Canada? How come they can't work together? It's always against each other. You look at the same things in the United States. Republicans, Democrats are always at each other's throat. And the same thing all over the world. Why is it that the parties that were supposed to represent the people represent their own self-interests? And why is it that we allow this to continue? She's asking you questions. And these questions are not, I don't know the answers to them. That's me that's saying this. But she says it's very easy. That you are going to allow the world to continue to be in fear. She says, what happens if every soul on earth allowed the love to expand around them? Then all of a sudden the world that's in black and white becomes in full color. And every single person is connected. She shows me that every single person that expands the light around them expands it into the person that they walk by. And for that brief second, your souls are in communication. And the more and more and more and more people that do this, it connects everyone together. So the more you spread your energy outwards, the more it connects onto other people. And the more the love can be spread across the world. That's what they want me to show you, and that's the message. Again, please comment video below. Subscribe and like to my channel if you want to hear any more videos. It's important that you do that because it gives me the ability to reach more people. And I'm trying to do my part. And that's all you can really do, is try. But please, just allow yourself to allow your light to shine. And remember, it doesn't have to be just 6 feet. It could be millions of miles. You could engulf the whole earth with your light. The more people that do this, the more we're interconnected. And the more the world will change. Because it's not simply, you don't want an apocalyptic event to change things. You want things to change naturally. You want things to change willingly and not forced. It's important that we don't force things. That's what we've been trying to do for so long, and it just doesn't work. It feels hopeless as a human being sometimes to live in this world. Nasiyono korayane sana. Susiyana sano kiyarneyana sanado. I'm going to sit here and going to expand my light till it fills every viewer that watches my video. Nasa no kuni, nasa warani and nasani. Usianai Oraingian Ani Urai online Orandaisong Urianan Hai Yorai Nurun Naing Surayano Iya Nae. Thank you very much, everyone. If you wish to do a journey with me, you can visit my website at almondrostawakening.com. You can also go to my Northern Light page at Joseph Bradley Auroras and HiddenAuroraSpirits.com. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day. Nasa no Kiyana.